Severe weather is ripping across the Gulf states this evening, as it has been all day, and severe weather will be shifting into the eastern part of the United States for Thursday. We'll have all everything that's going on right now. We'll check out the latest watches and warnings and much more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is, of course, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, on Long Island, north of the Sunrise Highway, north of the Southern State Parkway, but south of the Long Island Expressway. And as we get into the month of April, you'll be thinking about spring cleanups and landscaping, and they've got mulch, topsoil, mulch of different colors, by the way, and everything you need to make your yard look like the best in the neighborhood. So head over to Omni 631-756-1125. Whether you're a professional landscaper or you're a do-it-yourselfer, this is the place to go. And of course, as we all know, as only Joe Rayo can tell us, the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
yes. So, Mr. Rayo, as advertised by the Storm Prediction Center, with the moderate risk of severe weather today across much of the central Gulf states, it's really playing out according to plan here. It's been ripping with the severe weather from early this morning when I got up and first checked the radar. There was already a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings as the line was crossing out of Texas and moving into Louisiana, and it is amplified right over Mississippi. I saw a bunch of tornado warnings. It's a very, very busy night indeed from the standpoint of severe weather.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right, too, Joe, that the Storm Prediction Center right on the mark in forecasting this well in advance. I mean, we knew about this from the middle or latter part of last week. And it looks like tomorrow it's going to be our turn up here in the Northeast for the possibility of severe weather as a line of showers and storms associated with a cold front approaches from the west. So very active indeed for probably these next 24 hours.
Yeah, I just had I've got the lower Mississippi Valley radar loop on the screen, and I'm just trying to get this to update, but for some reason, let's see if it'll do it now. Okay, there we go. There were almost a dozen, and there still are. They're hard to count because they come and go so quickly. Now, they didn't all just expire at the same time. I think there's probably a frame issue going on there, but there's got to be every bit of a dozen or more severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings up and down from just west of New Orleans on northeastward through Mississippi and into western Tennessee. It's a pretty impressive squall line that actually continues even further north into southern Illinois. We'll go to the larger radar view here, and you can see this is also from earlier. I'll give it a refresh in a moment, but you can see how busy the local offices are with all these showers and storms. I've seen a few places reporting confirmed tornadoes. I have not seen anything that stands out at the moment, but oftentimes it takes a little while for that to sort of move its way through social media. So I'm sure that at some point we will see the aftermath of all of this. And now, of course, I'm holding on to some degree here, Joe, because that line is moving very quickly, and it looks to reach me in northeast Georgia sometime during the early morning hours. However, it also looks like we're seeing the peak of all of this right now with respect to the severity of these thunderstorms.
Right, diurnally active, coming at the end of the day, the end of the heat of the day, and so yeah, as we move into the overnight hours, some of these storms will indeed lose their punch. Unfortunately, even a weakened storm, one of these weakened storms, still could carry a bit of a punch to bring you, Joe, in your area, some heavy downpours and maybe some gusty, strong winds, but of course, nothing like what they're experiencing right now with the threat of tornadic activity and large hail. It is it is a very formidable line. And up here in our neck of the woods, here in the tri-state area, it would appear that we're going to be in line for the worst activity in terms of thunderstorms probably sometime, oh, my guesstimate was sometime around 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow night. So tomorrow night, when we're doing Joe and Joe, it may very well be that I'll be right in the thick of things here in terms of active weather. We do not, where we are, we're under a marginal risk for severe activity. The slight risk zone is to the south and west of where I am. But still, that's not to say that tomorrow the Storm Prediction Center might edge or nudge that slight area a bit to the north and northeast, and I'd be in it too. So
Yeah, they did. They
again,
did
it
do
looks
that.
like a very active.
Yeah, they did do that this afternoon when they updated it at 1:30. They pushed the slight risk further east and also a little bit further west, and they pushed that marginal risk all the way up into northern New York, and also expanded the area in the southeastern part of the United States, southern Georgia, down into northern Florida. By the way, I've got the radar loop on the screen. I'm sure you can see it. Take a look at what's behind it. There's some kind of shortwave trough that's in northwestern Arkansas. At least when you look at the signature on the radar, it certainly looks like there's some kind of upper air trough there that's helping to enhance all these storms. You see it? See what I'm talking about?
Yes,
It looks
yes,
like
I do.
a hook.
Like a hook.
Yeah,
There, yeah, exactly, exactly.
a
Or a
giant
question mark. You
or
know.
a question mark. Yeah, actually, it does look like a question mark, and that seems to be enhancing the southern end of this line. That with the severe weather extending right up into southern Illinois. One of the things I got to give SBC credit for is the fact that I've noticed this for quite a bit now, but I haven't really said anything. But they've gotten awfully good at cutting off where, say, between slight risk. I'll give some room for marginal risk, but uh, when they have that slight risk area set up, oftentimes I've noticed that that's kind of the cutoff of the more widespread activity, and they do a very good job in their forecasts of finding that cutoff line, and they drew it in central Illinois and in southern Indiana, and it looks like that's just about where it is because you notice once you go a little bit further north of those severe thunderstorm warnings in southeastern Illinois, we're not seeing any up further to the north. So they do a very good job, and of course, no doubt when you look at the southern end, you have to say that they did a great job with that moderate risk because I mean this is just up and down. Uh, just about every spot is covered by severe weather of some form or another, and we've got one, two, looks like about 4 or 5 tornado warnings working at the moment.
Yes, and I was impressed by the fact that on the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell tonight, that this zone, this line of very active, very severe weather, actually was number one tonight. The first item out the box in terms of significant news stories actually knocked the slat that was heard around the world off the top of the news tonight. And it was, I know it's not good to you know say that severe weather is I mean, it is very important. It always is important to us, but it was nice to see that uh, this particular outbreak of severe weather and potential you know thunderstorm and hail activity and tornadic activity actually took precedence over some of the more mundane matters that we deal with in the news on a daily basis. So I tip of the cap to at least the CBS people for realizing that sometimes it's not always what we as human beings do. Sometimes it's nature that should take precedence, and certainly with this area of showers and storms tonight, this certainly does take precedence.
So I'm just looking here. There's a tornado warning that it's going to expire in less than 3 minutes. Uh, Severe thunderstorm producing a tornado was located near Troy or near Verona. moving northeast at 60 miles an hour, and this is impacting the counties of Chickasaw, Itawamba, Lee, and Pontotoc, Pontotoc, and
Please don't ask me.
that's in the state
I,
of Mississippi. In Illinois, in White County, we just have now an expired tornado warning from a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was near Carmi, moving northeast at 55. So any of these cells that are producing tornadoes look like they're all moving like rocket ships. The
right, and it's just like what we say. It's just like we say during the tropical storm and hurricane season when we speak of a modest tropical system, let's say a Cat 1 or Cat 2. If that thing is moving with a forward speed of 40 or 50, you have to add that into the actual storm itself, the actual storm circulation, and that if it were to cross through your area, it would actually be more like a Cat 3 or 4. And the same thing holds true with these severe storms. If they're rolling along, Joe, at 50 and 60 miles an hour, with that forward speed, you have to take that into account along with the sheer ferocity of these individual thunderstorm cells, and that alone could cause major problems. It doesn't even have to spawn tornadoes. My goodness, 50 or 60 mile per hour forward speed, and you have thunderstorm wind gusting to 30 and 40 miles. I mean, and that'll cause significant, straight line wind damage, and of course, not even taking into account downdrafts or whatever. So this area really is loaded for bear, and I don't envy people, let's say, down the line to the east, like Birmingham, Alabama, for example, places that are just out ahead of this line, because this is still going to be in force, maybe not quite as strong as what we're seeing now, but it is still going to be very potent later tonight when that line works its way further east into Alabama. And then we'll see what happens when it gets into your neck of the woods, into Georgia, probably in the after midnight hours.
all of this is responding to this deep upper trough that is up in as a cutoff low that moved up into northwestern Iowa this morning and southeastern Minnesota, and then you can see the bottom of that trough just kind of shifts eastward, and you'll note that line, that really dark, almost black line of 50 knot or greater winds. In fact, I even see some of the wind barbs are on the order of 60 to 70 knots, and a lot that has got to be mixing down. In fact, what kind of got lost today was the fact that ahead of all of this, they had high wind warnings up for Louisiana, Mississippi, and into Alabama. So they were windy down at the low levels of the atmosphere throughout the whole day. And now, of course,
Weren't you under
these
a
thunderstorms are coming. I'm in a wind. I think I'm under a wind advisory here.
wind advisory?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean,
yeah.
it
Okay.
it has been at least the wind really did pick up later during this afternoon, and I'm sure it's hard to tell here where I am because the mountains kind of shield me. So, but if I the treetops, when you look at the treetops, and some of these treetops go up quite a ways, they're swaying as if the winds at those levels are every bit of 30 to 40 miles an hour, and yet you could be standing right at the ground and you don't feel anything. It doesn't always mix. It mixes down in sort of in odd ways. But I could very well be standing outside and while these trees are all mowing back and forth and you're hearing the howling of the wind and right down at the on the ground it's not necessarily you're not necessarily feeling it. On the other hand,
Right, you're downstairs.
yes, but on the other hand, if I go into town, for example, which is more of in a valley and much more wide open, the wind tends to scream in whatever direction it's blowing from, because the mountains aren't they shield it to an extent, but then they don't shield it, and then it all winds up mixing down. So oftentimes it gets pretty windy in town itself. Now this upper trough is going to maintain its strength tonight as it approaches western Alabama. You can see that jet streak really holds together as it moves into Alabama and then eventually into northern Georgia. And that's what you will be watching for tomorrow. This is at 8 a.m. On Thursday. Uh, Follow that jet streak during the afternoon, and you'll notice it kind of holds together pretty well uh, as we move through the late afternoon and evening. I'm trying to figure out, Joe, are we going to see a squall? Is there going to be a squall line, or is it going to be thunderstorm clusters? Because if you look at the guidance, if you look at the actual radar plots of the GFS and some of the other models, it would lead you to think that it'd probably be more clusters of thunderstorms than it would be an actual line. But then I look at what's going on aloft, and I'm thinking, you know what? That looks more like a line setup to me.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. In fact, now that you just reminded me, let me just take a look here quickly. If it's worth showing, I'll share it. But if I want to just see what the FGen at 700 shows, it really hasn't been showing very much with this, and it still doesn't show. It doesn't show anything really impressive. Let me just zoom in here on the Northeast for a second. No, it's no, it doesn't show much of anything in terms of. It just shows the bulge, if you will, of chillier air that'll be working its way into our area, beginning with the leading edge of that bulge, the 0 Celsius line at 700. That's well aloft, but it looks like that's going to start moving in probably around 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and then the cold air just pushes on in, and we're right in the throes of it. We're right in the middle of it. Let's see, at 700, what is that? That's 3, 6, 9, 12, minus 15. Looks like minus 15 Celsius. And you say to yourself, well, that sounds pretty significant. But keep in mind or remember that we just went through a siege of cold air where it was like minus 15, minus 17 at 850. In
Right.
other words, at lower levels of the atmosphere. This go around, it's not quite as severe or not quite as robust or significant. But no, I was thinking that maybe we might see because sometimes with those really big pushes of squally weather, you sometimes will see a lot of omega associated with the cold front, but it doesn't seem to be that way this go around. So I'm not sure. I mean, certainly we are going to see some activity, some thunderstorm activity, but not the type that you would normally expect to see.
Yeah, I got the NAM here. I put the NAM surface up, and there's the squall line as it moves across Alabama and into Georgia, and it actually holds together pretty well. Looks like for me it'll be around 4 or 5 a.m. that it comes on through, and right into tomorrow afternoon. By 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, most of the line is from southwestern Virginia southward to northwest Florida. The northern part of that just kind of doesn't really do very much. But then in the late afternoon and evening, you start to see these clusters of thunderstorms that develop over northeastern Pennsylvania, the Hudson Valley. Um, it's not overly impressive, but sometimes on the NAM 12 it can underdo what the thunderstorms actually look like. But again, you look at what's going on aloft and you think, okay, it's probably a broken line of thunderstorms from north to south. And then you look at the surface radar presentation and it says, no, it's more clusters of thunderstorms that develop into tomorrow evening. Look, either way, there should be some shower and thunderstorm activity. And I'm sure that one or two of those cells are going to wind up being severe as the front moves through. And then after that, weather conditions somewhat improve on Friday, although we do have another upper trough to come through on Friday. So uh, there certainly should be clouds around, and there might even be another rain shower or two, and in upstate New York, a snow shower or two, and then going into the weekend, you're still seeing this weak disturbance that comes out of the plains, low over Chicago Saturday afternoon, that moves fairly quickly to the east, and by 1 a.m. Sunday is in northwest Ohio. Uh, it doesn't. The upper air looks a little bit more impressive than the surface because there's a cutoff low that's there, but I don't know how much we're going to be able to get out of this as far as weather on for Sunday.
Well, it looks like of the 2 weekend days, Saturday looks to be the better of the two. Sunday, again, as you just pointed out, maybe a bit cloudier, and there may even be a shower or two in and around our area. Friday, yeah, there may still be a shower lingering here and there. Not, I mean, at first glance, you say, okay, maybe a lingering shower behind the cold front on Friday morning, and then we dry out and clear out. But the atmosphere still looks rather unstable, so that we may see a shower kick up, later on in the days. Maybe we may have a sunshine sandwich, so to speak, with some clouds and a shower in the morning, a buildup of cloud, and maybe a shower at the end of the day, and in between, in the middle, we might have some intervals of sunshine to enjoy as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking here at the GFS, which just kind of rolls it along. Sunday morning actually has a little bit of dark blue snow in northeastern Pennsylvania and points north. Uh, then it goes out, and then we've got another low that comes out of the plains, um, and maybe another round of severe weather Monday night in the lower Mississippi Valley and in the Tennessee Valley on Tuesday, and even back into the Gulf states during Tuesday afternoon. It's a little bit of a different setup than what we just had because the low is not intensifying and moving up northward to the Great Lakes, but instead it's moving northeast up the west side of the Appalachians. So it does bring in some rain into the northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states on Tuesday, uh, probably Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday night into early Wednesday, with some rain and maybe even a rumble or two of thunder before that moves out. And then there's another system that swings in right behind it for the end of next week. So at least the pattern does look rather busy for the first 7 or 8 days of the month of April.
Yes. Yeah, hard to believe. Yeah, Friday we welcome April. April Fools on Friday.
Yep, exactly. I was just thinking about the fact that it's already the end of March. It's amazing how quickly it goes. All right, the Storm Prediction Center. So this is the risk area for Thursday. And they've got the marginal risks they now have pushed to western Long Island, the Connecticut-New York state line, and they run it all the way up to the Vermont-New York state line into northeastern New York. And then the back edge is like Rochester to, oh, I don't know, let's say Altoona, or maybe closer to Pittsburgh than Altoona. And then it goes south-southwest through eastern West Virginia, western North Carolina, down into the Florida Panhandle. But two distinct areas of slight risk, one from northeastern North Carolina, northeastward up into eastern and central Pennsylvania, much of western and northwestern New Jersey, and much of southern New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, good chunk of Virginia there. Also, a small portion of South Carolina, the southern third of Georgia, and in northwestern Florida, except for the western part of the Panhandle, is either in slight or in marginal risk. We should also point out that there is tornado risk being indicated here of 2% in areas from, well, pretty much that whole area that from northwest Florida, where there's a 5% risk there, and in parts of southwest Georgia. But it's 2% all the way up the seaboard, east of the Appalachians, and into eastern and central Pennsylvania and into western New Jersey. So could there be some rotation in any individual cells? Sure. I don't. This is it's a 10%. Okay, so this is there's no hatched area. So because if it was a hatched area, then they would be talking about a 10% or greater probability of an EF2 or stronger. Wind, I think, is going to be the primary driver here. A 15% probability of winds of 50 knots or higher. And hail is being indicated too, because we do have cold, unstable air aloft. So a 5% chance for hail.
Yes, and that would make some sense considering, again, the push of cooler. And again, this is not of the same caliber of what we've just gone through, of what we saw over the weekend with that upper level low and that extremely cold pool of air that moved over us. I mean, we were getting reports over the weekend of pea-sized hail in some of those thunderstorms, but it's totally not out of the question with this impending event that we might actually see some activity again in terms of hail later tomorrow or tomorrow night.
Yeah,
and I noticed, Joe, also that there you could see on the satellite picture. I was going to bring this up. Generally speaking, we're calling for a cloud-filled night tonight. However, notice, if you will, on the satellite picture there, quite obvious, there's a kind of like a hole that developed in the general cloud cover. The sun came out
Yes.
for a while during the late afternoon hours up here, and the sky actually turned a little blue. So that brightened the afternoon after a rather dull, dank, and dreary morning and midday. But as you can see, it's kind of like a sucker hole because the hole is going to close up very quickly, and we're going to go back to mostly cloudy conditions here very shortly, if it has not already happened in many places already. That'll stay cloudy through the night tonight, and we're going to have quite a bit of cloud cover here tomorrow. And yet tomorrow, even with the cloud cover and the threat of precipitation, temperatures tomorrow are going to be considerably warmer, assuming the warm front does fully pass through, that we will have temperatures tomorrow. It'll be about 15 or 20 degrees warmer than what we've seen out there today.
Is the arc of the clouds to the north maybe telling us that that warm front is going to get through and maybe get further north than you might think?
It seems that way. You
Because
know, you get
because
that loopy, the loopy front, and that part of the loop always hangs back, and you say, "Rawr," you're waiting for the warm air to reach you, and you're in the middle of the loop. But yeah, I think this front will not have too much of a problem in most areas going through. I don't think we have any damming effect, if you will, keeping the front from progressing in any one spot.
yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, it's not as if there's a high to the north or anything pressing down. It should make it all the way up. Although every once in a while, even with a south wind and you're staring at a map that's got a million isobars and for whatever reason it doesn't mix down to the very bottom of the atmosphere and you're just kind of looking and asking yourself, how is this possible? But everything to me says everything from what I'm looking at would suggest that the warm front should push further north. And I think the fact that SPC put that marginal risk so far north into upstate New York leads me to believe that they're thinking the same. The signature on the loop tonight's pretty impressive because you could see the upper feature. You could see the separate. When you talk about that hook, you could see it on the satellite right behind it. It's almost it's supporting that lead line. And the blow-off clouds very impressive here, and of course the rotation goes back down into Colorado. You see those clouds are moving from north to south, so this is a pretty wound-up, well-developed storm system that's reached its peak intensity and marching its way on up to the northeast. And in some sense, when you see these thunderstorms in the springtime in the Gulf states, not that it's easy to forecast, but it's there are fewer things it seems that can go wrong with your forecast if you're talking about an elevated risk of severe weather. In the Northeast and in the northern mid-Atlantic states, you've got too many other variables in play, and that includes the ocean, the wind coming in from off the ocean in one form or another, and that's something that we'll have to pay attention to tomorrow. On tonight, I just want to quickly go back to SPC's map here, if it will let me. Because for some reason, a lot of my web pages are just getting hung up. Um, and I keep getting this, or it's the Weather Service web pages anyway, seem to all be getting hung up for one reason or another. But I'm gonna I'm gonna see if I can figure this out as far as why this is happening.
On the chat board, Johnny Quest has asked this question a couple of times tonight, so we'll get through it here. He's asking about, Joe, have we ever heard of the term buff kit used by weather forecasters, and if so, can we explain it? It's what is basically a profile visualization and analysis toolkit that was actually developed by the National Weather Service staff in Buffalo, New York, and that was developed, I think, back in the 90s, and
Yeah.
it helps to show kind of a cross section of the atmosphere. It helps them to make quick decisions as to in the wintertime, whether or not, for example, there might be some snow squall-like weather. It can help also during the summertime in analyzing thunderstorm activity and maybe giving an idea as to whether or not any one given thunderstorm cell might be potentially strong enough to spawn tornadoes or active severe weather. And as of January 2001, I'm looking here at the statistics for it. as I said, it was developed in Buffalo at the National Weather Service office there. But as of 2001, it is now in use in over 75 National Weather Service, Department of Defense, and University and Environment Canada locations. So it's a very, very popular computer program that is used. And again, it was developed in Buffalo. So naturally, they refer to it as the Buff, B-U-F, for Buffalo, the Buff Kit. And again, it's been used in a lot of other places after being spawned at the forecast office of the National Weather Service in Western New York. And somebody else, was it so one of our newer members on the chat board was talking about, I think it was Joe Z. He asked this last night, and I didn't catch it because it came at the very end of the show. And he asked again tonight, do I remember or am I aware of the Christmas Eve snowstorm of 1966? And that is a special kind of case because it is known in weather annals as the Donner and Blitzen snowstorm. That is a snowstorm that hit indeed on Christmas Eve here in the tri-state area in the late afternoon. It was a Saturday. I remember it so well. It's like in the back of my mind. It's like it happened just a short while ago. It was on a Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and there was lightning, there was thunder. I guess that's why they refer to it as the Donner and Blitzen storm. David Ludlum, the historian, the great weather historian who passed away about 20 years ago, and he wrote a number of books. He, I think, was the one who called it the Donner and Blitzen storm. Two things I remember about that storm, Joe. Number one, it happened on the same night as the premiere of the Yule log on Channel 11. Channel 11 had been promoting for a number of weeks that they were going to cancel all commercial programming and they were going to have the Yule log and that was not on Christmas Day. They had it in the overnight hours, like 9 o'clock to like 1 in the morning. I guess they didn't have at least Channel 11 was not doing as they do now, midnight mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral. They had the Yule log instead. And I tell you, with the Yule log burning on my TV screen and snow falling at the rate of like, an inch an hour with half-mile visibility, it really did feel like Christmas time in 1966 with that particular storm. And we've had a few snowstorms coinciding with the Christmas season since then, mostly after or during or after, but this actually came on Christmas Eve night. I remember my sister Lisa, at that time, Lisa was, she was only 6 years old. And I think she was concerned. She kept asking my grandmother and grandfather, said, do you think Santa Claus will be able to make it tonight through all of this snow? And I remember my grandmother saying, of course, that's what he has Rudolph for. He'll get through all this.
Oh,
So yeah, 1966, a very, very special holiday. And then 2 years later, Christmas Eve again, special because that was the Christmas Eve where we had Apollo 8 circling the moon on Christmas Eve night, and the astronauts read from Genesis. And that was another amazing Christmas Eve. We don't have Christmas Eve like we used to have, with very special things like that. But anyway, that's my memories of Christmas Eve '66, and that was the definition of the Buff Kit. And now back to Joe Chiaffi.
All right. All right, just really quick here. I'm going to want to bring up the Storm Prediction Center's map here because we have 5. I counted 5. One that expires at 9 o'clock Eastern time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tornado watches and 1 severe thunderstorm watch. The severe thunderstorm watch is up for Illinois, Indiana, parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky. Everybody else in the lower and middle Mississippi Valley and points east under tornado watches. And in fact, the newest tornado watch was issued half an hour ago, covers Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, the Gulf of Mexico, and the adjacent coastal waters. And I thought I saw, yeah, that's the last one that was issued. And that is actually going to be in effect until 4 a.m. Central Time. So that's the one that's furthest to the east as far as the tornado watch is concerned, that goes into the western part of the Florida Panhandle. So it's going to be up for the overnight. There's going to be some nighttime severe thunderstorms and tornadoes with this because this line's going to hold together pretty well. The other thing I wanted to point out was when you look at the watches and warnings map, the gold, the yellow are the tornado watches. The severe thunderstorm watches are in that lighter, I don't know what color that is. I guess a lighter purple. And then the brownish areas, those are all wind advisories. The gold is high wind warnings. It's unusual to see. They don't put up high wind warnings across the Gulf states very often. Uh, in hurricanes, it's different because that's a hurricane warning or a tropical storm warning. But we don't see high wind warnings too often, and yet we've seen it happen a couple of times in the last few months with high wind warnings over parts of the South. So it's been unusually windy in this part of the world. So on that note, I just want to remind everybody that if you're watching this on a replay, remember that the show is live from 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time to usually 8:15 or 8:30 Eastern Time. So if you're watching this overnight, you're going to see dated radar. So please, please, please go to your local National Weather Service uh, weather page. You can find that by going to weather.gov, or you can go to the Storm Prediction Center's page, which is spc.noaa.gov, so that you make sure you have the latest information. Now, of course, it's ranting time because Mr. Rayo has informed me before the show, and I have no idea what it's about. Okay? I have no idea what this rant is about, but apparently Mr. Rayo has a rant for us.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Michael McGuire, who says, "Good evening, J&J family. I've been absent recently, but glad to be back. Started out with low clouds and drizzle and 50 degrees this morning, now up to 75 and partly cloudy. No wind yet from Mount Ulia, North Carolina." And thank you very, very much,
by the way,
Michael.
Before you start your rant, let me just let folks know about Barry Goldberg. We talked last night about the fact that Barry's wife was having surgery today for amputation related to diabetes. They did do some of it, and now they're waiting to see whether they would have to do more of it. I don't know all the specific details, so we'll wait for Barry's on the board. Okay, so it's good to see Barry on the board. We hope that we're providing you with at least a temporary distraction from what is going on in your life. And I hope everything winds up going well. We also want to mention Izzy D, who is a regular but hasn't been lately. He has diabetes also, and he's and he's a young guy, but he's going into the hospital to have hernia surgery. So we wish him well, Izzy. Get well. I don't know if they still do that where they put the mesh in with the hernia. I never had one, but if they put a mesh, I've understand that they put like a mesh in and then they fix up whatever it is they have to fix up. So fingers crossed for you. And the chairman, Scott Briller, saying that his mom is doing okay, and that they kind of massaged her meds a little bit, and she seems to be responding to that. So that's a good thing to hear too. And we await his comeback, which will probably be in a couple of days. So I just wanted to pass that along to everybody. Okay.
James Davidson also on the chat board asks, does anybody remember the bad snowstorm we had in December 2010, the day after Christmas on the 26th? A very bad one, turned out to be an all-out blizzard with 30 inches of snow. That was the so-called Boxing Day snowstorm, and that was also known as the Bloomberg blizzard because apparently Mayor Bloomberg was on vacation in Bermuda when that storm hit. Everybody knew the storm was going to hit. I remember the front page of the Daily News on that Sunday had, get ready for like 16 inches of snow. And the problem was because Bloomberg was in Bermuda, that he apparently did not give out the order. I guess that you have to assign or have to give the high sign to various individuals in various sections of government, like the sanitation department, saying, all right, get ready, go. You're going to have to clear the streets or whatever. And nobody knew. And it was also the day after Christmas, a Sunday, a skeleton staff. and there wasn't anybody around to order people. Hey, I know you have the day off, but you got to get in here. It's going to be a bad snowstorm. And in essence, what happened, as was mentioned by James Davidson, is that the snows came, it was blizzard-like conditions, and it was almost like the Lindsay snowstorm of 1969. There was hardly any, trucks out to clear the streets. New York City was like paralyzed for days after. Bloomberg somehow managed to fly back to New York, and he actually said, Joe, I remember somebody asked him, said, do you think a snow emergency should have been declared beforehand? And he said, no, I don't think so. I mean, we did have like 15 or 20 inches of snow, but Bloomberg said, and he actually told everybody, all the people who were watching him, he said, look, it's only snow. Why don't you go out and see a show, go to a restaurant or whatever? How could they do that? They couldn't go anywhere because the streets were clogged with snow. So that goes down in the records as the Bloomberg blizzard. And Mayor Bloomberg was never. Everybody never let him forget that.
Yeah, but
that
it
storm
was
in 2010.
schools were closed and it was during Christmas, so he figured he'd get a pass for it. So anyway, go ahead,
Yeah,
rant.
I guess.
I'm dying to hear this rant.
Rant. Okay. I tried showing you this before we went on the air. Do you know what this is? Do you have any idea what this is?
Let me see.
A couple of Christmases ago,
let me see the top of it.
All right, here.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is. It looks like you plugged that into
All right,
something.
it indeed it is. A couple of years ago, because of my propensity for making egg creams, for example, here at the house with club soda or seltzer water, my daughter went out and bought a machine that actually will take regular water, tap water, and if you use this, it's a carbonator.
Right, so
it's called SodaStream.
Right, SodaStream. I know that. It puts the CO2 in there.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But of course, as you can see, it's not an infinite amount. It eventually will go all the way down to the bottom, and the tank or the cylinder will become empty. And what you do is you go to the store where you bought the machine, you give them this, and they'll give you a filled up cylinder for your SodaStream. Now, the interesting thing is that if you don't bring the old canister back with you, you will be charged about $30 for a new cylinder of CO2.
Okay.
Bring the canister with you as a trade-off, and you'll cut that down from $30 to $15. So the last time this happened, I went to Best Buy. Today, I went to Best Buy, went into the store. As soon as they saw me carrying this over to the desk where I was the last time, they looked at me and they said, sorry, we don't have any. We don't have any SodaStream canisters. The guy said, we put them on order. That was like a month ago, and we're still waiting for a new supply. So I went back into the car, called my wife, said, look, I got to come home. I made a trip for nothing because they don't have it at Best Buy. She said, oh, I think they have it at Walmart. And what she did was she got on her phone, and this took a few minutes, but she said, yeah, in aisle 27G at Walmart, at where I live at the Cortland Town Center, you can find these canisters. And yes, they do have them at Walmart. So I said, fine. I was literally right across the way from Walmart. So I parked the car in front of Walmart, walked into the store, looked around. It took me a few minutes to try to find where 27G was because they're not big signs. They're little tiny little things that stick out from each aisle. But I said, oh, wait a minute. Here's the G, 12G, 14, 16, 18, went all the way down to 27G. Boom, there it was. And I looked, and there must have been about, I'll say conservatively, there must have been about 20 of these in boxes there. And there was also a sign there. There was a sign that says $30 or $29.95. But if you have the empty canister with you, trade it off, and it'll only cost you $15. Good. I pulled out a box, took the box and this empty canister over to the cashier. Now, I had to find the one with the shortest line. That took another 3 or 4 minutes of waiting online. Finally got up to the cashier, plopped the box down. The woman takes the little laser thing, like that. And I said, oh, wait a minute, here. And she looks at me and says, wow, what is that? I said, this is the empty canister. So you don't charge me the whole $30. You only charge me $15 because I'm bringing the canister. And the woman She didn't seem to understand or didn't comprehend what I
Okay.
was telling her until finally she says, "Let me call my supervisor." A few minutes later, the supervisor comes rolling over, this rather rotund woman. And she looks at me and she says, "Oh," he said, "you can't do that here. You got to do that." And she points to a desk over there, the service and exchange desk. So I said, "I have to go over there?" He said, "Yeah, you have to do that." I said, "Okay, lesson learned." Took the empty canister, took the box. "Hold it, sir." I said, "What?" He said, "You can't take that box with you." I said, "What do you mean I can't take the box with me?" He said, "You can't take it. They have the replacements. You give them this, and they'll give you the filled up container." I said,
I know where
"Oh,
this is
okay." So I
going.
lifted,
I have a feeling I know where
went
this
to
is
the
going.
box, left the box there, walked over. Now my next bit of aggravation. Nobody is waiting. There's no line to get to the desk. There's one woman there, and she's servicing another woman. The woman who this person was servicing, if you're a Seinfeld fan, if you remember the episode of Seinfeld where Seinfeld's grandmother, he called her my nana, my nana. This woman was like a dead. She looked exactly like Nana from Seinfeld, and the problem here was that there was some sort of, I don't know what was going on, and it looked like there was an effort for her just to lift the pen up, that's attached to the credit card thing, and she's going like this. She's obviously clicking like enter or accept or whatever. She did that, Joe, 6 times over a span of 10 minutes. I have my wristwatch. I'm timing this out. I'm standing there all by my lonesome, waiting for this transaction to take place. 10 minutes I'm watching while this one woman, there's nobody else behind the desk. It's just one woman attending to Nana with her problems, and she's taking like a single dollar bill out, and then she's taking the dollar bill back, and then she's writing again, then she's clicking it. I said, "What the hell is going on here? Why is this taking so long?" Now there's a line forming behind me, a couple of people, behind me. I turned to the woman who was right behind me. I said, "Well, I hope you brought your lunch." I said, "I've been waiting 10 minutes for this." And she said, "You've been waiting 10 minutes?" I said, "Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on there." Finally, Nana is done. She's done, and she waddles. She doesn't walk. She waddles away. And the woman behind the counter says, "All right, come on over." I come on over, and I show her this. I said, "See, this is empty. I want a replacement." She walks over to the end of the thing, and she looks behind a bunch of boxes, and she looks back at the thing. He says, "That's blue, right?" I said, "Yeah, it is blue." He says, "Oh." And then she walks back and says, "I only have the pink ones." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "The pink one. The pink ones are the ones who that are smaller." He says, "I don't have that one. We're all out of them." I said, "No, you're not. You're not all out of them."
They're on the
He says, "What do you mean?" I
shelf.
said, "You've got about 20 of them back there across the store."
Well, then you'll have to
I
buy
said,
one.
"Why don't I just go back? Why don't I just go back there and I'll bring you a friend?" "No, you can't do that, sir." "Why can't you do that?" "Well, the ones over here are for the exchange. The ones that are on the shelf are for
Or
the
for
retail.
sale.
We have to keep them separate." I said, "Are you kidding me? Are you?" And I start getting into an argument with her. Now you know me, Joe. You've known me for 40 years.
Oh, the
Am I the
salt of
type
the
that
earth. No,
Am I
not
the
a.
type who starts getting angry and
No,
aggravated or whatever? Actually,
no,
look,
no.
I was starting to get agitated, and I was saying like stuff. "No, wait a minute." I said, "What?" And then now she says, "Let me call the supervisor." Well, guess what? It's my old friend from the cashier's desk, the big rotund woman. She comes back, and the other woman tells her what's happening, and she looks at me and says, "Oh, well, I'm terribly sorry. When I sent you here, I didn't know that they didn't have any more replacements." The steam is coming out of me as I said, "No, no, 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 no." I said, "No, you do have replacements. You've got about 20 replacements over there." He says, "No, you can't use those." I said, "What's stopping me from going over there and taking one out of the box and coming over to this thing and just giving you this and you give me that?" She said, "No, you can't do that." I said, "Why can't you do that?" He says, "Because this is for exchanges and this is for retail." I said, "You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy." And then she looks at me and says, "Well, you can have that if you want." I
It's
said, "Yeah, I
it's twenty
can."
nine
"Yeah."
ninety
It says,
five.
"But I have to pay. But I have to pay $30 for that one, don't I? I don't have to pay 15 with this one." He says, "Yes, that's true." I said, "You're nuts. You're crazy. The whole world is crazy." And I finally just walked out with this, and I mean, like, Joe, I was this close. I was this close going.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
Oh,
operator, operator, give me Alexander 4444. The line is busy.
oh
That's what
my
that's what
God.
what you went
Where's
through. You realize that was about 20
this?
minutes of your life that you'll never get back.
I know. I know. And of course, then I call Renata, and I'm expecting her to say something to the effect like, "I know, dear. I know it's terrible, isn't it? To side with me, right? No, she sides with them. She's saying, well, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. The problem is, Joe, you never go shopping. He said, you don't know the rules.
Exactly.
And I
Oh,
said,
there are
Renata,
rules. No, see,
I
Here's
said,
the thing. Here's
I,
the thing. Walmart is I have I created this list years ago, and I've only made one change in that list. These are the only acceptable stores that for men to shop in. There, okay. One of them is Costco because you never know when you're going to need a jar of mayonnaise the size of a barrel. Okay. Home Depot because deep down inside, men want to live in their garage. If you look at Home Depot and the way it's modeled inside, it looks like a very neat, organized garage. Even the coloring makes you think like you're inside a garage, as opposed to Lowe's, for example, which is marketed more for women. Because when you walk into Lowe's, the lights, it's very bright lighting, softer colors, etc. So Home Depot is on there because, as I said, men deep down inside want to live in their garage. Bed Bath and Beyond, because after all, there really is nothing more exciting than running your hand across a cast iron skillet. And I added one other store to that. This is the first time I've done that in years, and that's Tractor Supply, because it's Tractor Supply. It's
yeah,
just you know where else can you go in there wearing flannel and construction boots or anything like that and be loved. Okay, even the women go in there without makeup. That's how great a store Tractor Supply is. So anyway, those are so Walmart's not on that list. Walmart
well,
is, go in, go
I just
out.
told you that I just told you that Best Buy was out of the Soda Stream, for exchange. Now Walmart was out of the exchange thing, and now Renata on the phone. She's telling me, "Oh, I understand that they have them at Acme." And Acme, I said, "Don't you see a plot running through this? If they're all out of it at Best Buy, and if they're all out of it at Walmart, don't you think they might be out of it too? I might be going through the same song and dance at Acme as well." And it's a plot, Joe, because the guy at Best Buy said we put in the order for the exchange ones a month ago, and he says I don't understand it, but they haven't been delivered yet. Don't you know what the plot is? The plot is by the folks over at SodaStream. Let's get them or force them to
Yeah.
buy the other stuff
Yeah.
without the exchange for $30.
Because
That's
yeah, but you know what? That doesn't play well in amongst consumers. I bet you if you contact the company, they'll they'll respond. They'll probably tell you that they're out
Yeah,
of
they'll
it.
respond. You know how they'll respond? They'll respond in the following. They'll tell me, Mr. Rayo, we're very, very sorry that you had this problem at Best Buy and Walmart. We're very happy to exchange. Just place your thing in the box, go to your post office, mail it to us, and we'll mail you back a filled up canister of carbon dioxide so that you can make your egg creams or whatever like that. And of course, naturally, if I try to mail this,
They
in
might
fact,
not
I don't
do
think I
that.
can mail this because
No, they may not do
you're not
that.
allowed to mail something like this.
I would contact the company and let them know. I've been trying to I've got the Soda Stream and I've gone to all these different retailers and none of them have it. And you can't
Right.
they have it for sale. Probably the reason why is the ones that are designated for exchange probably have a special SKU on them as opposed to the ones that are designated for retail sale. So,
Right.
I don't know. It's
You think, Joe, I was going to devastate Walmart, the economic feasibility of Walmart or whatever, if somebody at the store were to say, "I understand what you're going through. come with me. And
Yeah,
just we went over, and he just snuck one of these out of the
no,
box
that
and said,
doesn't
"Here,
that doesn't
here,
ha-
take
yeah,
this."
but every item is on a skew. It's all accounted for. So if one is taken out, it has to be,
I know,
yeah.
I
It's
know.
not like the old days.
I went before I started as a professional broadcast meteorologist. I remember the winter of '78, and it came right after the blizzard of '78. I had a part-time job at EJ Corvettes off of Bruckner Boulevard. And what did I do at that store? Inventory. That was the most boring job. And of course, naturally, everything had to be in its place. Everything, and I had to take notes of where this was and where that was and this one. Yeah, I can understand. So if somehow or other, at the end of the month, somebody said, there's a soda stream canister that's missing here that should be here, and we can't account for it or whatever. Oh, I just gave it to that nice man because he had the empty one, and they couldn't, and they
Well,
were
why
all
don't you
out,
see?
and he had to make his.
Why don't you see if Amazon? Maybe you could do it on Amazon.
I don't know. Well, anyway, I just had to blow steam tonight, and all of you out there. See, I mean, we're down to 84 people watching.
Yeah.
If I continue this rant for another 5 minutes, we'll lose the whole audience. So I'm going to say goodnight.
All right. And on that note, I'm going to say good night too. So everybody have a great night and stay safe. Joe and I will be back tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern time. Thanks for coming on tonight and watching the show. And hopefully tomorrow night, Joe.
Tom Tom Cartino said, "Joe Rayo, did you consider shoplifting the item?" Thanks, Tom.
See you in prison. Yes. All right. So we'll see everybody tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Good night.